Podcast.
And we should be live for Battlefield Podcast, episode 11 of our third season. I'm Ola, a.k.a. Chalk1, and with me we have Tim, a.k.a. Darkness429. Hey, Tim.
Oh, good to be back for another week of Battlefield goodness.
Yeah. We also have a couple of special guests this week. We're joined by LevelCap, who probably most of you will have heard of from YouTube.
Hi there.
And we also have Sean, a.k.a. putyoursoxon, which is a great username, who's one of our forum members who redeemed some reward points to be on the show.
Yeah, so you've probably never heard of me, but I'm glad to be here.
So it should be interesting. We've got there's not been a whole lot of new Battlefield news, so we're sort of going to be fabricating our own. But one thing I want to mention is that we've launched a new show called Battlefield POV, and it's another live show, but it's a gameplay show. So we launched the first episode last night, and basically the way this works is that Tim and I stream live on Twitch, and we basically play whatever type of game you've told us to play. So in the prior week, there'll be a poll on the website and suggestions for what we should do, and it can be as specific as game loadouts, the whole thing. We've had some suggestions for repair toolkit only, and so last night's episode we played as engineers on Caspian border for about an hour, and it was pretty fun, and we had to play with a specific gun and a specific loadout, so you can check that out at battlefieldpodcast.com/POV, and it's also on our YouTube channel, which you should subscribe to, by the way. We need more subscribers. We got, 122 right now, which seems so little compared to some other person in the room.
Yeah, I'll give you guys a shout out.
What are you up to now? Is it over 70,000?
Yeah, I think I hit 73 today.
Oh, very nice. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And that's actually the other thing that we'll get to talking about that in a minute, how that all came about, because I have a story about how things have changed in the last, I want to say, 6 years in the Battlefield community. And it's quite the difference for people who haven't maybe paid attention in a few years. But the other thing I want to get out of the way is that we've heard of these DICE-approved dog tags, and it's apparently all up to DICE as to who's going to get one of these, but we've been doing this damn podcast for 6 years, and I'd be really upset, Daniel, if you didn't give me one. So if you want to convince him more, you can tweet him at Shinto, that's ZH1NT0, and of course at Battlefield. There was a post on the website somewhere where basically DICE said that, you know, it's for people who have been leaders in the community, and people can nominate folks basically by tweeting or posting or sending them messages in whatever way you feel is the best way to do it. This is a different dog tag. It's not the DICE developer dog tag, but John, you posted this link earlier, bf3stalker.com, which is a great little link to find DICE developers if you want to get that dog tag from them. They also have YouTube folks on that list, I noticed.
They do.
So you're on that list too,
it's been quite the controversy over on the YouTube side the past day. Just because Diego Rod, I don't know if you guys know who he is. He runs the Elite Gamer Bros, and he thought it was a great idea to get this whole site up and sort of help promote it, but YouTubers have been kind of hating it recently because hackers just stalk us around and ruin all our gameplay, and it's getting to the point where it's pretty crazy. I hear DICE employees have it pretty bad too, with all the knifing going around.
I'm sure. I know that in the beginning when the game first came out, everyone was after them. There's been one website that's been around for a long time that sort of allowed you to stalk DICE employees. But this one's different because YouTube, you know, I understand people want to play with their YouTube celebrities or whatever. I mean, that's what that whole Project PTFO tournament was all about. But there's not, you know, with the DICE developers, you get some sort of a reward. There's not really a reward for killing, you know, LevelCap or any of the big guys on YouTube. At least not that I'm aware of.
You can make a montage video with it. I've seen a few montages of me getting knifed and whatnot.
Nice.
So, speaking of YouTube in general, I remember that when we first did this podcast, when we first started it, that was in, I think it was in 2006. I think it was in April 2006.
Yeah.
With Battlefield 2, there was very little stuff happening on YouTube compared to now. I mean, there would be some videos, but it was mostly some videos of people promoting the mods that they were working on and all that kind of stuff. But
the biggest thing was mine. That was the biggest YouTube
there was
video
a few montage videos like that. Snoken is one of the big groups that did that then. But now, I mean, it's exploded. I guess, is that just YouTube in general, or is it because it's gotten easier to record stuff, or how do you explain that, LevelCap? How long have you been doing this? First of all, maybe start with a bit of an introduction as to...
Well, when we hit September, I will have been doing it for a year. And, yeah, so not even a year yet, but I was watching Bad Company 2 videos before I started doing YouTube. And even the big guys like D-Crew Colin, I think, was pretty much the top dog when it came to YouTubing back in Bad Company 2. And he's a relatively small channel. Like, in general, there just wasn't a lot of people viewing this stuff out there. It's not to say that Battlefield videos weren't getting a lot of views, because I remember some of those montage videos from Battlefield 2 with Battle Recorder doing all the jet stunts and all that kind of stuff. You know, those would explode. But I also think that monetizing in YouTube for a long time it hasn't been that big. It's started to take off more and more in the past few years, and that probably has a lot to do with it as well.
That's probably a good point, because that's something more recent, I guess, with YouTube, is that people actually make a decent amount of money off of this stuff, because I would imagine it must take a lot of work. Like, how many hours a week do you put into this stuff?
Well, I've actually, just the last week, started to realize how much I'm actually putting into it, because I had to take I'm taking Friday off tomorrow to go up north for the weekend, and I just realized, like, oh my god, I gotta cram like 60 hours worth of work into like 5 days, and it's getting pretty intense actually. But on one end, part of the work is playing Battlefield 3, so it doesn't feel like a lot of work in some ways, but the editing and all the analytics and all the data and all that crap, actually, it gets pretty redundant after a while.
Yeah, because there's sort of there's a variety of different videos. I mean, there's still the montages that some people make, but those probably take the most amount of time in editing and setup. And you know, a lot of these mini movies are, I mean, they're directed, they're storyboarded, and you need volunteers to play certain roles and stuff. And there's just regular doofus gameplay, which is what I do. And then there's some of those analysis videos, whether it be about weapons or certain loadouts and stuff. It does seem like, I mean, it's literally like a little news report on something. There's a lot of effort seems to go into that.
Yeah, you know, we mix it up a bit. I like doing, I think my favorite show right now is Squad Up, and that gets, like, I think the least amount of views in general compared to my other shows. But it's the easiest to record, it's the most fun for me to play, and I just slap it on there and let the in-game commentary roll. So I love that show because it's the least amount of work and it's the most fun.
Right.
But you'll definitely notice the more work and time you put into editing and cultivating a film or a video, you'll probably get a bigger payoff in terms of views in the end.
What do you think are the most popular types of videos that people want to watch the most?
You know, it's hard to say. In fact, I think it's been changing. When Battlefield 3 first came out, like, montages were just crazy because I don't think Battlefield had really sort of set up a footing for itself in the YouTube community. It hadn't quite established itself, and so they're sort of borrowing from, say, like, other shooters like Call of Duty, which, you know, is very montage heavy in the COD crowd. So Battlefield started off with lots of montages, and those got popular, but they've been less and less popular recently. And when the latest expansion came out, I did a weapon review first day on the AUG, and that just exploded. So, I mean, weapon reviews are really big. Tactical, like how to play videos, are really big. And yeah, I don't know. It's you got to find like the right balance, or at least play to your strengths, I find.
Now, you mentioned monetization earlier. I don't want to get into specifics or whatever, but one thing that I've always noticed is when you put up a video, it always says that you shouldn't monetize it unless you own all the rights to it. do people still get to monetize their Battlefield 3 videos? Because I'm always torn. I'm never quite sure, because theoretically it's gameplay footage of something that's not mine. Like, I would consider what we're doing now as something that we hold all the copyrights to, because it's literally just us, right? We're not using anything created by anybody else. But if you're playing in game, I'm always uncertain as to whether or not that's considered fair use or what. But
well, it has a lot more to do with partnerships nowadays. I mean, DICE and EA have come out and said, you know, please post Battlefield 3 videos and all that kind of stuff. YouTube doesn't recognize like any of that stuff. You can't link them to like a press statement or something and say, there's proof, you know, like I can monetize, not get sued. So companies like Machinima and the Game Station and the other big partnering companies will now partner up gaming YouTubers, and they'll sort of handle all the back-end rights stuff, and you can post all your gameplay videos, and they'll sort of deal with any of the legal ramifications, but they've gotten permission. And YouTube actually itself, because YouTube does partnering, but they won't partner game channels anymore. So you have to get partnered through Machinima or TGS or Pixel Enemy or some of the big gamer partnering channels out there.
I guess that's probably because YouTube stopped partnering because there's too many people, hey? That
want
to do game channels. I mean.
There's a lot, and they even set up like a minimum requirement on Machinima. I think it's like, you know, you have to have like at least 4,000 views coming in a day or something like that before they'll even look at you.
That's a lot of views.
That's a lot of views, and it's driving so many to your channel in one day.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it explodes, you know. I think it's starting to hit the peak of saturation right now. So for, can you guys still hear me? I get this weird blinking thing. Okay.
Yeah, I heard the thing, but I'm not sure what that is.
Yeah, I think we're sort of hitting the peak of saturation right now with people trying to get into it. So it's probably going to be a lot harder currently for starting out channels to get those views. But you know, I'm sure there's 1,000 angles that people haven't tried yet. You know, it's like now they're getting into real popular. Some channels have the trolling videos. Some channels have the tactical videos. Some channels are just nothing but montages or like best plays or whatever. I'm sure there's an angle that people haven't tried yet, you know, and whoever figures it out first is probably going to get, you know, a big surge of views from that and build a channel off of that.
Well, and that's an interesting point, because our angle is to put our ugly faces on, and I don't know if that's working or not, but it's different. And then it's funny because we post our videos over at Gamerspawn every once in a while, and looking at the comments, it's always interesting. A lot of times there's people saying, we don't want to listen to you, we just want to see the gameplay. It's like, well, there's already 1 million people out there doing that. Like, if I want to watch great Battlefield 3 gameplay footage or tactical videos or whatever, like, there's a lot there already, like you said, right? So
yeah,
how do you deal with YouTube comments? I find YouTube comments in general, they're either really good or really, really off.
Yeah.
I find that if there's any flaw in any way with your video, like, there will be hundreds of people to point it out within like the first few minutes of posting it, now for me anyway. So I don't know, I kind of treat YouTube as almost like an entity that's going to like detect everything you do that's wrong and hate it, and everything that you do well and just like praise it. But once you get a good following going, it's kind of nice, because when people post the trolls come on and post the unnecessary douchebag comments about stuff, I don't actually have to jut in there or get angry. My fans usually like destroy them before they can get off the ground. So that's kind of nice now.
You got any questions for him, Sean, maybe, or Tim? Sorry, I'm just texting Chalk, too. I forgot to tell him about the podcast. I think he's a little upset.
So what did it for you? What got you, you know, into the YouTube celebrity status that you're at right now?
I don't know, to be honest. I do know that consistency and posting regularly for me was a big help. A lot of people are like, I'm going to get big on YouTube, you know, and then they post like a semi-interesting video once or twice a week. And that's not enough, in my opinion, to gain a following unless that video is amazing. You know, if you put out an awesome video once a week, then people will come back for more because they'll remember your video. But
Right.
Unless you're making the most amazing montage all the time, you're going to have to post regularly, keep your subs something to look at. I think that was a big thing for me. And I sort of treated it, I mean, I don't like to say it, but I did treat it like a job when I first started out. I was like, you know, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to post a video the same time every day, every single day, and give my fans something that they can expect. And I think that attributed a lot to my success.
And then, were you picked up by one of those gaming partners?
Yeah. Machinima, I kind of had to work at it, but, you know, you learn who has partnerships and who has connections, and then you can get somebody's email here and there and finally get in touch with them. And
All about who you know.
yeah, it very much is in the YouTube community.
Mm-hmm.
Does it ever, you said that you treated it like a job in the beginning, does it ever get to the point where it's too much of a job? I know that part of this job is playing Battlefield 3, which is a lot of fun, but I've noticed in the past that if you do it too much with it being a job, it can take away from the actual enjoyment of it being a hobby or just a fun time. Does that ever get too close to that, or?
You know, that's always been a concern of mine. I don't know if you guys have, I've been following Machinima more now that I've been partnered with them. I never really followed them before being partnered, but there's that old, are you guys familiar with who Hutch is, or was, I guess?
No.
He got big in the COD community, and I never really watched his videos, but he was huge, and he did it for 4 years. I think he was like one of the first people to become giant off of COD videos, and he just burned out after 4 years. Left YouTube, left Twitter, left Facebook, like dropped off the face of the planet, because he was doing videos, I guess, every day for like 4 years on Call of Duty and all this stuff, and it's just kind of interesting. Everybody was very surprised by it, and they're like, oh my god, like he's sort of the test candidate, you know, like the first big person. Are we all going to burn out after this? But I'm happy to say I haven't gotten to that point yet, you know, and I think it really helps if you have a really awesome game like Battlefield, you know, that just has so much replayability in it. I mean, I can just keep playing maps over and over and over. You know, I haven't gotten bored of flying helicopters or jets or tanks. There's just a lot to do in it. I think I'd get very bored of a game that didn't have a lot of diversity in the gameplay.
Yeah, it's not linear like other games.
Well, and having all these DLCs, and that must be nice for you to hear that as well, right? That DICE has announced all the DLCs all the way through 2013. So you almost know that, you know, every 3 months from now on you get new content, because just like when Close Quarters came out, all the new videos about the new weapons, the new maps, it's just fresh stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great for, I mean, it's both refreshing, and it's great for views too. I mean, every time new content comes out, my channel kind of explodes.
Yeah, YouTube's done a really good job, I think, of making things a lot easier than they used to. I remember back when you had to be something really special just to upload more than 10 minutes or so of video.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, the interface is constantly changing, and there's still bugs that have been around from day one and just weird things. But it's pretty impressive if you actually think about it on the grand scale of things, of what they're actually doing, you know, constantly receiving like probably millions of gigabytes of video, you know, every minute, and rendering it on their end for all these different resolutions. It's pretty impressive.
What do you use to record with, software-wise, or hardware-wise, maybe?
I always get asked that question, and it's changed since I started. I think most people have heard of Fraps, the little $35 piece of software that's been around forever. With the simplest interface on the planet, you can't say what kind of format you want to record to. And I started out with that, and there's been some competitors, and recently I've been using this capture card that AverMedia makes, and I'm slowly working on a review for it. I'm trying to wait till the thing's actually good so I can say something good about it. But there's this market growing now for capture cards because people don't like to lag up their computers when they're recording, and Fraps will do that, and there's issues with DxTory, which is another popular one. but the market's very fresh, which means a lot of people rushing hardware to the market and unfinished drivers. So I'm capturing with a card that's it's hanging on by a thread right now in terms of functionality, but the quality is good and the file size is good. So I think it's called an Avermedia Live Gamer HD.
Well, that's good. Yeah, that's a good point. A lot of people start off recording with Fraps or something and notice the first thing that it really slows down their system, and then they give up after that because it can be frustrating. But hardware is probably the way to go once they get better and maybe more affordable as well. So
yeah, DX Story I think is going to kind of take over the market potentially. We'll see if the hardware cards can compete with it.
Yeah, that's what we've been using to capture our videos, DX Story.
it's a lot more complicated than, or at least it looks a lot more complicated than Fraps, but it's certainly more powerful, and if you configure it properly, it works a lot better.
It's so much lighter on the hardware side of your computer. It doesn't bog down on the RAM and CPU usage.
Yeah, and from what I hear, I haven't used it personally, but it's supposed to be pretty reliable, and you get multiple format encoding options and stuff, which is nice, depending on what kind of programs you want to use.
Yeah, right out of the box, it has a bunch of encoding setup in it, and then you can add on to it with whatever you have installed on your computer. It's really
what
cool.
always surprised me is that there's a lot of people on YouTube that are recording and live streaming and stuff off of the consoles as well, which is nice to see.
Yeah, yeah.
Because the game's so different. We were talking earlier with Sean about how some of the maps on the console and just the different flag positions, or rather the limited number of flag positions, and how that makes the game so different. So.
Yeah, I don't even want to think about maps like Firestorm on console. You know, like, how do you play that with 24 people? Like,
well,
I mean,
how do you play it, Sean?
12 people on a team and like 4 tanks and a chopper. I mean, everybody's got some piece of armor, right?
On the PC, Firestorm is 3 flags as well.
I believe it's 5.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
it's 5.
Yeah, well, we have 3. You've got the the center one, then you got the pipeline, and you've got that other building storage area, and 3 tanks per side. Even with 3 tanks per side, there'll be times when there'll be tanks just sitting at spawn. People will be waiting for a chopper, or they'll be camping up in the pipelines and stuff like that. So if you're good on the tank, you can dominate on that map pretty well.
I'd imagine vehicle camping on console is like game over for the team, because if you got 2 people or 3 people waiting for a helicopter, I mean, that's like a quarter of your team waiting for vehicles to spawn.
Yeah, it's bad. I mean, usually it's only helicopter or jet, but I mean, you have a helicopter, you've got a jet on each side, and you got 3 tanks, so pretty much everyone could be in a vehicle if you want to, but
I think that's why I like 64-player maps. It's just because the ratio of good players to douchebags is better than
I actually have a question for you on console, because so I talk with Luton every now and then, he's a YouTuber who plays on PS3, and do you guys do recoil compensation with your weapons? Because that's a necessity on PC, is dragging your mouse as the gun kicks back. And he was saying he doesn't really do that on the console. At least he's not aware of doing it much. And I was wondering if that's a big thing on console, or if you guys just have to deal with the kickback of the gun.
I mean, I don't really think about it that much, I guess you could say. Even if a gun is full auto, I tend to burst it to try and control the recoil the best I can. I think that subconsciously I'm doing it. But that's why I like to stick to guns like the G3A3. I'm not a big fan of full auto. Even the LMGs, like, I just get in the habit of bursting them.
Right, right.
So I guess you could call that compensation, but I don't know. Now we have the on the close quarters, they increased the auto aim.
Right, I heard about that. I heard there was mixed results.
Yeah, I kind of feel like it's a hindrance almost, because it'll follow a target just enough, but it won't lock onto them. So it kind of feels unnatural when you're trying to track onto a target or lead them or something like that.
Interesting.
I mean, you have the option to turn it off, but after the update, I mean, at least for me, it was definitely noticeable, the auto aim.
It's like a dumbed down aimbot.
Yeah. It's pretty bad.
Give you some wall hacks next, maybe.
Is that a big issue on consoles, hacking? I mean, it can be fairly bad on the PC. It depends on who you ask, I guess. But
honestly, I don't think it is a big issue. I mean, you have I guess hack. You don't have like aimbots or the instant aim and auto kill and all that stuff. I've seen some people get into the walls in Metro and try and camp from the ceiling and stuff like that, but I've never had to deal with hackers on the console. I mean, that's one of the things I like about the Xbox. I like the easy VoIP, even though most of the time half the team isn't using it, which it like breaks my heart, is that we have this like perfect working talking system and nobody uses it rarely. I mean, you'll have mic-only servers, and there's one good mic-only server that I found that actually has admins that'll go around and do mic checks, and it just makes the game so much more enjoyable when you have 12 people talking to each other.
Yeah, no, that sounds pretty cool. It's definitely something that PC lacks in terms of being able to do in a public way, you know, where you're usually just talking with friends.
In BF2, when we had the VoIP system, it was so nice.
yeah, at least you had the option then to talk to randoms.
Yeah, you know, I was talking with a few Battlefielders and wondering why they didn't implement a system similar to, like, I think it's called, is it Warzone or Battlezone? It's like a PlayStation game where they have proximity VoIP. So basically, if you're within an earshot of somebody, you can yell on your mic and they can hear you. That way, if you hop in the tank or a helicopter with somebody you don't know, you can be like, all right, what guns do you have? What unlocks do you have for this? You know, like, oh, there's a guy over there, and then you don't have to hear every annoying person on the server. It can just be the guys that you're actually working with.
Now, does that account for the opposing team as well? I always thought that would be an interesting idea.
That'd be hilarious, yeah.
Two people yelling at each other as they're hopping around in a circle trying to shoot each other with pistols.
Because I listen for footsteps. I'd love to be able to hear people talking to point out where they were.
Somebody sneeze around the corner.
I don't know. There's some conversations that we have on TeamSpeak that I wouldn't want to have the other team hear. So something completely different here. I have no good way to segue over to this, but I guess it's Origin's first anniversary, and they've sent out in their newsletter a code for PC users in North America to get a free game, which is either Bad Company 2, Dragon Age Origins, or Spore. Some of us haven't got it yet.
I'm pouting. So pissed.
I found mine in the spam folder earlier, which I thought was cool. I played Bad Company 2 on the PS3, but I haven't got it on the PC, so I'll go download that after this. And it's kind of, they're not new games, but I've never really played Spore. I played Dragon Age, which is a good game, and Bad Company 2, of course, is a pretty good game. So it's kind of nice for those that don't have it yet. Conquest Domination coming to other maps was something that is rumored, all because Alan Kurtz said that, he said on Twitter that it was quite popular and wanted to know what people would think if we played it on other maps. So,
yeah, yay MP First for propagating that rumor.
MP First does that a lot. But it would be interesting. I don't know. What do you think about Conquest Domination on the other maps? I think it might work on smaller maps, but I don't think it would work on the large maps like Firestorm or Caspian Border. Anything, you know, with the 5 flags, if they change too quickly, then
you'd have to do the same setup they do for like Team Deathmatch. The same map size, and then you would just implement the flag system within that.
See, the Team Deathmatch spawn on the close quarters maps works because really no matter where you spawn, you're within, you know, 30 seconds of walking time to the next flag, probably
Right.
less than that, 10 seconds. Whereas on the large maps, I mean, could you imagine spawning somewhere in the middle of nowhere on Caspian border? You're just suicide to try to get a better random spawn.
Yeah. I think it could be interesting. Obviously, it wouldn't work for all maps. And I think it's one of those things where a lot of people are like, that sounds like an awesome idea, and they have this idea of it actually working perfectly in their head, or how it would be implemented correctly. And I've just got this feeling that as soon as it shows up on the other maps, it's going to be like implemented poorly. The spawn's going to be terrible. It's not going to be well balanced. And I hate to say it, but DICE has given me a lot of reason in the past to sort of doubt their ability to implement some of their new and upcoming features appropriately, or at least in a good, balanced way.
I was surprised. I had my doubts about Conquest Domination, but I think it works well on those maps. I think Gunmaster has almost got a worse spawn system in the very beginning.
It
There's
really
been several
does.
times we spawn and literally just face an enemy right there,
Yeah.
right in front of you.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing that's always confused me is why the spawn system is not designed for larger player games, yet all the PC maps are on like 32, 48, some 64 player maps on these tiny little Conquest Dominations, and it's like, DICE, why are you guys giving us the freedom to basically ruin your game? Like,
Right.
don't give the people the choice. We're going to do something stupid with it, like lock us into some set game modes that are balanced and thought out, and none of these 64-man Conquest Metro games or Conquest Domination stuff going on.
Yeah, the 64-player maps are, some of those smaller ones especially, they're an interesting thing. And like you said, I think it's part of it is the community, though, because we always ask DICE to give us more rope, more leeway, more freedom to do things, and it's kind of like, they're like, well, here you go ahead, hang yourself with that. And we do.
We really do.
Absolutely.
But I try to stay away from those, the 64. I haven't tried a 64-man Conquest Domination yet. I can't imagine that would be any good.
It wouldn't be fun at all. I don't think.
Well, actually, what's interesting is, so Xbox got the server customization option, and immediately after that happened, people started complaining about these horrible servers popping up everywhere, and nobody being able to find just a good standard game of Battlefield to play.
Yep.
PC is just kind of like, yeah, welcome to our world.
Yeah.
Is that still an issue on Xbox?
Yeah, that's the issue. I mean, when it first came out, I thought it was awesome. I was like, oh my god, 500% Metro, this is going to be great. And now I'm like, I just want to play 100%, and you can't even find 100% anywhere. I thought that they were going to come out with the DICE servers again, or add some at least, but
Well, they said they had, but
I can't find them anywhere at least. I mean,
but I agree. I thought that was very interesting when that first came out. I saw so many posts in forums about complaining about Metro 64 1,000 ticket service. I'm like, what do you mean? That's not new.
yeah.
We've had that since day one. But I will say the one thing I do like about the console server rental system is that you can just rent a server for a day.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any place for the PC that you can do that, but I'm not aware of any. But I think that would be
No.
great, because there's been several times where, you get a few of your friends together and you would like to play on your own server, but you don't want to rent it for a whole month because it can get expensive and it's really hard to keep a server populated on the PC. So I wish we could do that, just rent a server for a weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds nice.
I mean, I do miss not getting kicked for random reasons. I mean, and the Xbox, it won't give you a reason why they kicked you either, like on the PC. Just says you've been kicked, which I just always assume is because I'm awesome.
My personal favorite is the something went wrong
Yeah. Oops.
Yeah.
message. Like, oh, okay, thanks for that.
So last weekend we had a double XP weekend that was open to everybody, which I thought was interesting because the week after Battlefield Premium goes out, and one of the selling points was exclusive events, they have an unexclusive event that's open to everyone.
Yeah.
But then this weekend, we're going to have a Battlefield Premium exclusive double XP weekend, which should be good. I got promoted twice over the weekend because of that. I think it's fairly popular with people.
Yeah.
But.
It's pretty insane on Domination, at least. I was thinking that people who didn't have premium, they had the double XP, but they really couldn't take advantage of it because, I mean, the points just rack up on Domination.
Mm-hmm. Especially, I like that gameplay where you go with a small squad from one flag and go to the next one, and if you do it right on Domination, you can literally just go in a circle around the map.
Yeah.
From one flag to the other, and that you do end up with a lot of points without, I don't want to say without doing anything, because you're playing the game like it's intended to be played, right? But
have you guys seen a lot of, I mean, at the beginning, I noticed that everyone was going like around in a circle, but the week or so, maybe the last couple days, it seems like more teams are content with camping 2 objectives. If they have 2 objectives, they won't go for the third.
Yeah, I've seen that more. I've seen that strategy become pretty popular. I know I had some pretty mixed opinions about the new close quarters when it first came out, and another YouTuber, Matimio, was sort of showing me his strategy that he was using on certain maps, which was just using these little nice enclosed areas to jump between just 2 flags. He would never go for the third, and it ended up working out pretty well. And I am noticing that a bit more with Conquest Domination on PC, at least in the games that I've been playing.
Yeah, it's like that on Xbox too now, and the C4 is insane now too.
Oh god, yeah.
C4 has gotten a lot more, and I mean there's some flags in some of the maps that are really easy to defend and really difficult to attack.
Yes.
So I'm thinking of, I think it's Bravo on Donia Fortress, whatever the one is at the bottom of the little courtyard.
Yeah.
That one's, it's usually just insanity, but and the C4 happens a lot now.
Yeah. Close quarters, I think, is it's so dependent on map design, and it's really interesting because like on Operation 9 to 5, there's 2 flags, the garage area, and then I think it's C flag that's sort of in the really nice
in a lobby kind of area. Like
kind of a lobby, and then A flag's on the coffee stand or whatever.
Yep.
A flag is like a nightmare. Like I hate going to A flag because you're exposed from like 80 different angles. The second you jump on the flag, C4 is going to detonate, or somebody's going to come from this angle, so I just play like B and C. I love B and C, but I hate A flag, and it's kind of interesting to notice that the map design really like determines how much I'm going to enjoy like a certain area of the map or whatever. It's not like some of the other maps where I can just be enjoying basically every flag I run around to. It's like in some of the Conquest Domination, I'm just like, oh, I don't want to go to that flag. I hate that flag.
Yeah, and it works pretty well. I'm actually really surprised how well it's turned out, and how I think probably the biggest fear that people had, I did before these maps came out, was that they were all going to turn into grenade fests and rocket fests like Metro can, and they really haven't. And I think that's credit to DICE for creating maps that have a lot of flanking routes and a lot of ways to get from one to the other, where you don't have these 3 choke points that you do have on Metro, where 2 teams just clash and they just sit there the whole map. So it's been well done. So, pretty good. But of course, there's always going to be things that need to be tweaked and fixed, and Alan Kurtz sort of released a bit of a potential change list. I guess that's stuff that may be included in a future patch.
M16 nerf.
M16 nerf. Yeah, they're gonna fix the M320 smoke with the AUG. Tim did a video about that.
No more railgun? Oh.
I haven't seen that being used too much, at least on the console.
It's not particularly overpowered. It's just kind of like annoying when you get sniped across the map with smoke.
Yes. Yeah, it has no drop at all. It's just this straight line. And then it seems like some of the smoke has increased damage, because I was watching my video, and you can see just pieces of wall just fall down once it hit it. So it's a little intense.
I miss the days when dropping a med pack would destroy a concrete wall.
So there's a lot of tweaks like that, but I guess we'll find out. There'll be more about this.
I'm not looking forward to that 93R. tweak. They said they're going to reduce the damage and the range. That's like my go-to pistol on every class.
Yeah, same here.
It's pretty nice. It's pretty nice.
Because it is like, it's almost like a little submachine gun.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
By the way, I know we've crossed the 1 hour mark because Google Hangout just asked me if I was still awake. It does that for some reason after an hour of having this thing on. I guess it hasn't been quite an hour, but Close Quarters is going to go live on the PS3 on 2 days ago.
It just went live in Asia.
Yeah.
Just now.
Breaking news. Close Quarters going live on the PS3 in Asia. But yeah, so that's now out. And I guess it's another week for the 360 for people who don't have premium.
I mean, are there people out there who are like, I'm not getting premium, but the day it comes out for $15?
Yes, there are people that are very bitter about premium, and they're very stubborn.
Interesting.
I think a lot of it has to do with back-to-car can't being included, and some people just will refuse to buy Close Quarters because it doesn't have vehicles and it's indoors and all that stuff. But
I think a lot of it too is like younger guys. It's like an entirely new game purchase for them who might not have the money for it. So it's like, well, they can't afford to be like economical about it, like up front and just buy the whole premium thing. They gotta buy in small chunks.
that's true because you do save money by buying it up front, but you know, for some people it may be easier to spend $15, you know, once every 3 months.
Yeah.
It just sucks for them because they end up spending more in the long run.
Yeah.
Well, we're also betting on the fact that DICE is going to actually come out with these things and the world's not going to end and whatever. But I think that's pretty good. Let's see what else. Do we have anything else you want to talk about? Anybody?
The who was it that one of the DICE devs was asking if we'd actually want a dino expansion?
Oh God!
Did you guys see that?
No.
He posted a question like, would it be like PvE, or would it be like, would people be playing as dinosaurs? And it kind of created a bit of a stir because people were like, oh my God, are they going to actually put dinosaurs?
I would just like to play the alpha, even if it doesn't hit, you know, mainstream. Just play the alpha. It'd be a lot of fun.
It'd be like the equivalent of zombie mode in Call of Duty. Right?
I was just going to say, they did zombie mode, and that sort of had nothing to do with the rest of the game.
But it's a huge success, you know. Imagine like Velociraptor mode or something.
Well, would you control? Would you actually be the dinosaur, or would it be like a giant vehicle where you can have 3 people inside the dinosaur controlling arms?
Arms and legs and mouth.
Fly the dinosaur.
I think it should be sort of like future dinosaurs with like mounted weapons on their backs or something.
Laser beams and rocket pods.
Mecha Godzilla.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what is that? There was a dinosaur game that was out years and years ago.
Turok?
Yes.
Yes.
It was Turok 2143. There you go. I don't know. I don't think we're going to see that anytime soon. It's a fun rumor, though.
It'd be a lot of work. I mean, the amount of time spent going into like the AI to just make that enjoyable. I mean, it's not like a thing you do on a whim, you know. I think it could be awesome, but you just have to put so much time and effort. It actually have to be worthwhile.
Yeah, it's probably more of a, it's almost more like a gimmick, but I think all these things, I mean, having read some of the stuff that's required for them to just recompile a single version of the game, it seems like unless they can sell it en masse, I don't know if they'd be willing to invest the effort in building that. But
this whole dinosaur thing has been driving since before the game came out, you know, months before the game came out. So I feel like they kind of owe it to the community to do something with dinosaurs.
Well, you know, if we could do mods, we'd have a dinosaur mod by now.
Oh, of course, yeah. I mean, heck, we had a Mech Warrior mod or something for Battlefield 2, not too long ago, or Battlestar Galactica. They had a mod for BF2.
There's still people out there that hope that we'll get mod tools, but I don't see that happening.
Not at this rate with the DLCs, no.
No. Well, we don't even have Battle Recorder yet, so.
Do you think that's still going to come out? And if it does, would that kind of stuff help you with videos in any way?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It'd be a huge benefit for the YouTubing community. I mean, you guys have probably seen that super cinematic video that came out I think it was like a few weeks ago. Forgot what it was called, but I mean, it was like a Spielberg production. I mean, the cinematography was amazing, and knowing that he had no actual tools like Battle Recorder to make it, you're just like, oh my god, this poor guy had to run around and get all these weird angles and
Was that the one where it was the support guy and the sniper?
yeah that one.
Yeah, that was intense. It was really well done.
I was surprised. It looked like a movie or something.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
there's some
Battle
people that
Recorder
spend
would
that
be
time.
great. Well, yeah, Battle Recorder would be awesome, and I believe it has been confirmed that they're actually working, trying to get it done. It hasn't been confirmed that they're going to release it, but I know they're actually really trying to do it. But I think the game wasn't initially designed to function with a Battle Recorder, so they're having to do a lot of sort of back-end coding stuff to actually make it work.
That's so weird because when you see the trailers, we saw the trailers for Close Quarters, it looked just like Battle Recorder, like it was in BF2.
I tried getting Noken on the show, who did all the Snoken videos. He's shy though, so he didn't want to do it. But yeah, it is a lot of work. But I think there's probably a good chance that we will see it, just because there's more than one community or more than one group that wants it. I mean, all the esports people want it, and obviously all the YouTube community would like it. So there's a pretty broad desire to have it, which is good. If it's just a few people asking, the chances of it are pretty slim, like the dinosaurs. Okay, I think we're probably good before I melt completely into this chair. Why don't we, okay, well, everyone knows you can find us at battlefieldpodcast.com. Our YouTube channel is Battlefield Podcast. We're on Twitter at BF Podcast. We're on Facebook.com/Battlefield Podcast.
Twitch, we're everywhere.
Twitch, wherever something/Battlefield Podcast, chances are you'll find something. LevelCap, where do they find your stuff? For those two people that don't know yet.
YouTube.com/LevelCapGaming, and that's LEVEL, not LVL.
Right, it's actually spelled out.
The proper grammar. Very nice.
How did you do in the Project PTFO tournament, by the way?
That was an interesting tournament, and it kind of turned out the way that I thought it was going to, where everybody was like, "Oh, LevelCap and X Factor teamed up. They're gonna just destroy it. They're gonna go all the way to the end."
Well, you guys had probably the most amount of people trying to get on your team, didn't you?
We absolutely did, and what I played 4v4 competitive before, so I know how absolutely important it is to have all four players being top-notch, knowing the maps really well, and just having great communication. And the guys we got they're great guys. They had good communication skills, but we went up against four people who had considerably all around a much better balance of skill. And in 4v4, if one person misses their lane or misses a shot or something, it can be game over. So we ended up just losing the first match that we played. But we actually had a lot of fun, and I posted the video up on my channel a while back.
Cool. Yeah, I think that was a pretty good community event. It was fun. It was fun to watch, I think, and it got people participating, which is always a nice thing to have. So, what about you, Sean? You can find him in our forums.
You can find me on the forums. You can find me on Xbox. I mean, you can always look me up and join me in a game. If you have a mic, that'd be nice. You know what you're doing.
Put your socks on, right? Also spelled properly.
Also spelled properly. Yeah, socks. Socks like red socks or white socks, I guess you would say.
There you go. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for watching. And don't forget, you can also find the audio version of this on iTunes if you search for Battlefield Podcast. And thanks to both of you. Thanks, Sean, for redeeming your reward points.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.
Cool. And thanks, LevelCap. I know you're busy making lots of videos. So I appreciate you taking the time.
I know worse. It's I like the show you got here.
Good. We'll keep doing it as long as the weather doesn't get any hotter. So, all right. Like I said, I'm going to hit the end broadcast button and everyone's going to go away. So thanks again, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you.
See ya.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Battlefield Podcast. Report online at www.battlefieldpodcast.com for more information and feedback.